In the heart of Mexico's sun-drenched avocado fields, a shadow loomed, one that would grow to cast a dark pall over the entire nation. This is the story of Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, better known as El Mencho, a man who went from a humble avocado farmer to the most wanted narco-trafficker on the planet, leading an organization that rivaled the Mexican state itself. Born in 1966 in the rural state of Michoacán, El Mencho's early life was one of poverty. Like many others, he illegally crossed into the United States in search of a better life. He settled in California, working various jobs, but the allure of fast money was too strong. In the late 1980s, he and his brother Abraham were arrested for distributing narcotics in the San Francisco Bay Area. After serving time in a U.S. prison, he was deported back to Mexico. This wasn't a setback, it was a career change. Back in Mexico, El Mencho joined the local police force, an experience that gave him invaluable insight into law enforcement tactics and, more importantly, its vulnerabilities. But the police salary couldn't compete with the narco world. He soon joined the Mencho Cartel, a smaller group aligned with the powerful Sinaloa cartel, led by the infamous El Chapo Guzman. El Mencho was a quick study. He learned the roots, the contacts, and the brutal language of the trade. He rose through the ranks, not through charisma, but through a chilling combination of strategic thinking and ruthless efficiency. When the leaders of the Mencho cartel were arrested or killed in 2009 and 2010, a power vacuum emerged. El Mencho saw his opportunity. Alongside his brothers-in-law Los Queenies, who managed the financial side, El Mencho formed a new group, the Cartel de Jalisco Nueva Generación, or CJNG. Initially, they presented themselves as vigilantes, protectors of the people, fighting against the abusive Zetas cartel. Their propaganda was slick, promising to restore order. But this was a smokescreen. The reality was a hostile takeover, executed with military precision and unparalleled brutality. The CJNG was different. While other cartels were fracturing, El Mencho built a disciplined, hierarchical organization. He equipped his fighters with military-grade weapons, armored vehicles, and even rocket-propelled grenades. They weren't just drug traffickers. They were a paramilitary force. Their public displays of power were designed to intimidate rivals and the state alike. Videos circulated online showing convoys of CJNG trucks, with heavily armed, uniformed sicarios chanting El Mencho's name. The cartel's expansion was breathtakingly rapid. They diversified their criminal portfolio from narcotics to extortion, kidnapping, and illegal mining. El Mencho's business acumen was as sharp as his cruelty. He understood the global market, flooding the United States and Europe with synthetic drugs like fentanyl and methamphetamine, which were cheaper and more profitable than traditional narcotics. The Mexican government, alarmed by the CJNG's ascent, declared war. They launched Operation Jalisco in 2015, a massive military operation aimed at capturing El Mencho, but he was like a ghost, always one step ahead. In a stunning display of audacity, CJNG fighters used an RPG to shoot down a military helicopter during the operation, a direct challenge to the authority of the state. The hunt for El Mencho became an obsession for both Mexican and U.S. authorities. The D placed a $10 million bounty on his head, the highest ever for a cartel leader. Yet, he remained untouchable, protected by a network of corrupt officials and a wall of fear he had meticulously constructed. Anyone who dared cross him, rivals, journalists, police officers, judges, faced a gruesome end. His motto was simple and terrifying: plata o plomo, silver or lead. Take the bribe or take the bullet. For years, rumors swirled about El Mencho's health. Reports suggested he was suffering from kidney failure, requiring dialysis, which made his life as a fugitive even more difficult. He became increasingly paranoid, retreating deep into the mountains of Jalisco and Michoacán, surrounded only by his most loyal bodyguards. The end, when it came, was not in a blaze of glory or a dramatic firefight. On a cold morning in early 2024, an elite unit of the Mexican Marines, acting on a fresh piece of intelligence from the DEA, closed in on a remote mountain compound. This time, there was no escape. The operation was swift, precise, and bloody. El Mencho, the phantom who had haunted Mexico for over a decade, was finally brought down. The government declared a victory. The $10 million man was gone, but his death did not bring peace. Instead, it unleashed a storm of violence. The CJNG, a monolithic empire under El Mencho, began to splinter. His lieutenants, men just as ambitious and ruthless as he was, turned on each other, vying to seize control of the fragmented kingdom. The streets of Guadalajara, once the cartel's stronghold, became a war zone. The The violence spilled across the country as local factions battled for supremacy. The very structure that made the CJNG so powerful, its centralized command, became its greatest weakness upon its leader's death. Without El Mencho's iron fist, the beast he created began to devour itself. The aftermath of his death is a grim reminder of the hydra-headed nature of organized crime in Mexico. For every leader that falls, several more are ready to take their place. The power vacuum left by El Mencho created an even more chaotic and unpredictable landscape of violence. The war was far from over. It had just entered a new, more terrifying chapter. The story of El Mencho is a cautionary tale. It's a story of how poverty and ambition can curdle into monstrousness, and how a single individual's quest for power can plunge a nation into a cycle of violence that is devastatingly hard to break. His ghost continues to haunt Mexico, a testament to the brutal empire he built and the bloody legacy he left behind. Thank you for watching. If you found this look into one of history's most powerful crime lords compelling, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the figures that shape our world, for better or for worse. Stay curious. In Guanajuato, more than 55 violent incidents struck 23 municipalities. Businesses in Leon shut their doors. Schools closed. Public transportation suspended operations. Michoacán saw blockades across 9 of its 10 regional prosecutor's offices, and at least 4 suspected cartel gunmen killed in shootouts. Colima suffered fires on federal highways, burnt restaurants, and canceled religious gatherings. The violence spread like a contagion, reminding citizens of the CJNG's reach. The message was unmistakable. We are still here. Even with its leader dead, the cartel could paralyze large swaths of the nation in minutes. It showed how deeply the CJNG had embedded itself in local economies and politics, and how difficult it would be to dismantle. Shockwaves across North America. Almost immediately, the United States and Canada issued travel advisories. American consular officials urged citizens to stay indoors in Jalisco, Tamaulipas, Guerrero, and Michoacán. Social media posts by the U.S. Embassy in Mexico described the incident as a significant victory, but urged caution. American officials also publicly acknowledged the intelligence cooperation in locating El Mencho. For years, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration (D) had tracked his movements and targeted his money laundering. NETWORKS prosecutors indicted him on charges ranging from drug distribution to terrorism. Some members of Congress had pushed to formally designate the CJNG a terrorist organization, arguing that its use of improvised explosive devices and mass casualty attacks warranted such status. Canada's advisory warned travelers to avoid non-essential visits to Mexican states afflicted by cartel violence. European governments followed suit. International attention intensified the pressure on Mexico to follow up the leader's death with deeper reforms. After El Mencho, a hydra without a head, within hours of the news, analysts flooded Mexican media with one question: will the death of El Mencho dismantle the CJNG? Most said no. The history of organized crime in Mexico shows that cartels seldom collapse when a boss is killed or captured. Power vacuums tend to spawn new fractures or, occasionally, lead to consolidation under a new leader. Unlike the Sinaloa cartel, whose factions have fought bloody turf wars after the arrests of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman and subsequent captures, the CJNG was built as a vertically integrated entity. Yet it also grew by licensing its brand to local gangs. This hybrid structure means it possesses a central core, but also autonomous cells capable of surviving without direct orders. In practical terms, the CJNG maintains operations in at least 15 states. It has a controlling presence in major ports like Manzanillo and Lázaro Cárdenas, giving it access to global shipping routes. Its international network spans from Colombia and Peru for cocaine to China and India for chemical precursors. Killing El Mencho is akin to cutting off the head of a hydra. Heads can emerge unless the entire body is burned. Security analysts suggest several scenarios for succession. 1. Family succession. Rumors long circulated that El Mencho groomed his son, Ruben Oseguera Gonzalez, El Menchito, and his daughter Jessica, Johanna Oseguera, for leadership roles. El Menchito was extradited to the United States in 2020, where he faces drug charges. Jessica Johanna served prison time in the U.S., but returned to Mexico. Other family members could attempt to rally loyalists, though their legal vulnerabilities make this unstable. 2. Regional warlords. CJNG. Regional commanders like those in Veracruz, Baja California, or Guanajuato could carve out their own fiefdoms, leading to splinter groups. This fragmentation could trigger turf wars resembling the post-Beltran leva and post-Zetas era. 3. External takeover. Rival cartels, especially the Cartel de Sinaloa, may attempt to reclaim lost territories. Under the heirs of El Chapo, the Sinaloans could offer CJNG operators amnesty in exchange for switching allegiance. This could precipitate pitched battles in states like Jalisco, Michoacan, and Baja California, for allied consolidation instead of chaos. A secretive committee of senior CJNG figures could choose a successor to maintain unity. Names mentioned include El 85 Eric Valencia Salazar, a co-founder, though he reportedly broke with El Mencho years ago. Regardless of which scenario unfolds, analysts agree that cartel violence may spike during the transition. Each faction will vie to prove strength and secure supply lines. Municipalities may experience an uptick in killings as competing groups purge suspected traitors or rivals. Unresolved systems, corruption, governance, and demand the fall of El Mencho underscores a deeper problem. Organized crime is systemic, not just personal. Eliminating a single capo does nothing if the state fails to address the environment that allows cartels to flourish. The CJNG thrived because of state capture. Corrupt officials at local and national levels, compromised police departments, and criminal infiltration into politics. Without serious reforms, another organization will fill the void. Moreover, the international drug demand driving CJNG profits remains high. Fentanyl overdose deaths continue to spike in the United States, creating a lucrative market. Consumers in Europe and Asia fuel methamphetamine and cocaine demand. As long as the profit margin is enormous, new players will risk their lives to meet it. The CJNG's success also highlighted Mexico's federal strategy failures. For years, critics accused federal forces of focusing on certain cartels, like the Sinaloa cartel, while ignoring CJNG's growth. The group exploited these blind spots to expand. Ending impunity will require confronting political and economic elites who benefit from the status quo. A country on edge, the end of an era, not the war. The images of burning buses, panicked runners, and soldiers in full battle gear paint a picture of a country on the edge. El Mencho is dead, but the 4 letters he turned into a brand endure. For many, the CJNG remains an ominous threat that can strike anywhere, anytime. That said, his death is historically significant. It removes a charismatic and feared figure who commanded loyalty through a mix of terror and patronage. It sends a message that even the most notorious criminals are not invulnerable. It may disrupt supply chains and sow distrust among CJNG factions. If followed by strategic reforms cleaning up police departments, dismantling money laundering networks, addressing poverty and impunity, could weaken the cartel's foundation. But absent systemic change, the CJNG will likely survive under new management or morph into something equally violent. The outpouring of violence after his death signals both resilience and volatility. The flames that lit up highways across Mexico may have been extinguished, but they illuminate a continuing war that has no clear end in sight. Conclusion: Beyond a Name, El Mencho's story reads like a narco thriller. A poor boy becomes a police officer, a drug dealer, a cartel boss, and ultimately a folk villain with a bounty on his head. He turned 4 letters into a brand that terrorized multiple continents. His downfall, orchestrated through a delicate mix of military precision and international intelligence, is a major milestone in Mexico's fight against organized crime. Yet, as flames smoldered and military helicopters patrolled, it became evident that this was not the final chapter. Cartels are not single-use villains. They are adaptive, systemic, and deeply embedded. The real struggle ahead is dismantling the networks of corruption, economic dependence, and international demand that sustain them. As Mexico wakes up to highways cleared of burning buses, but hearts still heavy with uncertainty, one era ends and another begins. The 4 letters, CJNG, still resonate. The challenge now is turning them from a symbol of fear into a relic of a violent past.